Hello and welcome to the Indian Writers Forum. Today we are doing a series on independent websites, progressive websites, which are generally online. So to begin the series, we have Raiot, and from Raiot I have Tarun Bhartia and Gertrude Lamar. Thanks so much for coming. My first question is about the beginnings. First, can you tell us how Raiot started? And as far as I know, it's a part of a group called Tur. So can you just give us a background about both?
Tur, the collective, we don't really use the term organization much, but yeah, the collective was formed in 2013, basically quite informally also, but organically, just a few people in Meghalaya who sort of were thinking along the same lines politically and decided to just start, a platform through which we could address issues. It started with, as an issue-based collective at that point. Eventually, it evolved into something else, of course. So the collective started in 2013.
On a Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
So our anniversary is always on Valentine's.
Always on Valentine's. And Raiot came 2 years later.
Basically, one of the things with, Tur is short form for Thamau Rangli Chuki, which is
loosely translated
as poor person's war. And
in Khasi.
And the kinds of people who came together, especially in that part of the world, politics is either very ethnicity-based politics or terrible NGOization, which so it was a coming together of people who had had experiences of both kinds, and there was dissatisfaction with that kind of politics, especially with NGOized politics, there was no politics.
There was no politics.
So like single issue things. So we thought that it's important to intervene at a larger structural, level and ask those questions. And so Raiot was a kind of a thing. It had a beginning and then it died, and we always thought that we'll have a kind of a magazine, and we can't afford a magazine. Obviously, printing is expensive. So online, so we started, and it didn't work out.
It didn't work out initially.
And then 1.5 years ago, I think we figured out what we were doing wrong in the first instance. First instance, it was that it turned out to be a magazine of a political group. And which was seriously problematic because what was happening was we were talking to each other.
What political, like the
Tur's
our
politics.
Group, yeah.
So, like if you go to our website and you look at Raiot and About Us, we always say loosely associated with.
That's very strategic.
Because also, the thing was that ultimately, in the earlier version of Raiot, what was happening was that it was as if that we were talking to each other. There was no attempt to, listen to what was happening beyond the idea of Tur. Raiot is a Khasi word. Obviously, it sounds like riot, but Raiot is, having that name in a Shillong context is also quite a provocative thing to say, because under the traditional Khasi system, Raiot are the people who are not the citizens of that place. So it's like the name. It's people have written about it. Why do you have such a bad name? So we wanted
I feel it was wonderful. I mean, in terms of I obviously knew the spelling is not referring to Raiot, but it's a pun.
Yeah. So that's where it's a bilingual website. So lots of people in Meghalaya, and the way it is structured, you can actually live your life in the Khasi Raiot or you can live your life in English Raiot. So it's structured that way. So many of the people who read, we have lots of readership from Khasi Hills, Khasi Jaintia Hills, and they don't, they experience it very differently from the people who are reading the English website, and that was always when in the next, in this present version of Raiot, that has been our thing, that people should not be able to pin us down, even in terms of way they experience the website. So, if you look at people get very angry. We have extremely non-serious stuff also, quote unquote. Like we did that Shillong FTW memes.
So there's this group,
which does creates memes,
and we featured them,
and we said year according to Shillong FTW. So we have that to even the larger political questions beyond Shillong, which we deal with. We have, like, one of our most well-read pieces is Neeta Ambani doing Olympics.
Okay, so my first reaction when I saw Raiot was like, oh, this is so beautiful. I mean, I really liked the fact that it looked in a certain way. Considering, I'm presuming that there is no official funding, there's no way. So how do you finance it? Because it needs to be financed. It needs volunteers at least. So how does it function in terms of the day-to-day life, like in day-to-day workings of the magazine? And how did you arrive at that aesthetic, that look?
In terms of Raiot, it's a side project of Tur, so there are people. So there is a political commitment to doing something like this. So
and not all Tur members are working
on Raiot. There are people, actually that's good, because many of the Tur members actually criticize us. You all are now getting too much into this.
Yeah.
But in terms of the way it began, our system administrator come part of editorial collective is this fascinating guy called Andrew Lindem, who's a rapper. He has a clan called Cryptographic Street Poets, and he's the person who for his bread and butter, he does website design, online.
He became so popular that he was also contacted by
other people. BJP actually
BJP
contacted
of
Meghalaya. And because he has done two websites. There's another website which we share space with.
Yeah.
It's a website called Vurta, which is
a news website.
Which is a news website in Panar, which is a
Jaintia language.
Jaintia language.
So you mean the domain is
shared. So he offered that he'll volunteer space. That
was how.
And then we started looking at designs. And this actually, our design runs on a completely free. We haven't paid a single penny for the design. It's called Tracks. It's a theme. Now I have seen two Indian websites who have actually taken the same theme. And the reason why we went with that theme was we knew that it was the phone. If you look at our website, even on desktop, usually people design website keeping desktop in mind. And then they make it responsive to mobile. Actually, this theme is primarily designed for phone. And this actually gives a kind of a... Another thing was that when me and Andrew and we were all sitting together, and we were looking at various websites. So one of the things which stuck to us was that many of the websites were designed keeping print in mind, almost how a print magazine looked. So you'll have sections, and that there was the dynamism was actually destroyed by those sections. Politics, opinion, poetry. And that's not how we experience websites. So we kept trying out things on not our website, other website, how we consume the website. And people now homepage, the idea of people spend lots of money designing the homepage. People are not coming to your website by looking at the homepage. Homepage is the second. They come through a link which they find on social media, or it's very few people will come as www.raiot.in. And the home page, actually, if you think of it this way, and if you look at your own consumption of the website, is more like an archive rather than the entry point. And that has changed. If you imagine 10 years ago, when there was no Facebook, Twitter, homepage was very important. Now homepage is not important. So if you look at Raiot, it's people criticize that design also, because it just keeps
it's a top down.
Yeah, it just keeps going up, and you never. So one article gets. But if you the way that site is designed, because we know that people are going to come via an article, via an essay, and then the linked essays, they come. So that's how they travel through, and that's how we consume now media. So in that way, that's was the I think people like lots of people don't really know. People who are coming from, let's say, when I told you that people who are reading the website from Shillong don't necessarily have to get into the other part of the website. Not because we are stopping them from, but they are not entering it there. So we put out an article on, let's say, some funny piece on Shillong is no longer the rock capital, Haflong is. People who came there would not have any idea about what other, unless until they get interested and see the thing. So that way, for Raiot becomes, for different people, different readers, it becomes a different website. So, and that is, it was thought through. At least we spent a month figuring out, and we didn't have money, and that was the only theme which actually did that for us. So in terms of money, no one gets paid anything
at all.
For first year. Even the server space was volunteered by Andrew, but we had a big problem. Our site has got attacked majorly. When we have had shutdowns, our Facebook account has been disabled, and not necessarily only about Kashmir. We had problems. We published this whole series of beef recipes, which was almost like a funny kind of thing. There also we had problems, and so we had to protect our server, and for that we needed some amount of money. So last year we got around 80,000 rupees from Zindabad Trust, which is a trust set up by Arundhati Roy. So that's to hire the server. That's it. Beyond that, I don't know. We have how to monetize it. We haven't figured out. But without when people talk about money, how many authors? We have 400 authors.
400,
And look at the list of authors. Right? Lots of people have. The funniest has been that I'll not name the author, who was approached by Scroll, which is a mainstream site, and he said, "No, I'll write for Raiot rather than Scroll." And because then I later asked him, "Why do you want to do that?" Because he said that, at least you all will publish and talk to me. When I write, we always, and that we do. We talk to our authors. Whether you are a young kid writing or you are an older person, we always read and ask questions, and so do that kind of a thing.